My presentation is Chernobyl nuclear accident. The reason I choose this topic is this accident. Through this accident, we can see many problems of nuclear energy. And the second reason is the location of this accident is related with my major Russia. So let's start looking. This accident happened in the first nuclear reactor in the Chernobyl nuclear power plant, and 31 people died on the spot, and 7,000 people died until the 1991 April because of radiation exposure. And the radiation exposure is very important and serious problem because the radiation materials are exposed to the atmosphere and it mixed with the raindrops and it falls and the contaminated ecosystem. This radiation causes the mutation. This picture is the child, disabled children because of the radiation. Also, the radiation contaminates the soil and underwater sources around the 32 kilometers within the plant. This picture is the Chernobyl nuclear power plant after the accident. We can guess that this accident was huge and terrible. People say this accident was the worst and the biggest accident in the 20th century. If the nuclear accident happened, it causes many terrible problems, so the government should set the right and safe measures thoroughly. So my presentation is over. Thank you for listening.
To talk about plastic pollution, so many things around us are made of plastics. Bottles, packages, computers, pens, they are all plastic products. We buy plastic products, use them, and throw them away, and hardly think about what happens next, what happens after they become waste. So why plastics are a problem? First, it's hard to recycle plastic. About 5% of plastic recovered in our waste stream. Melting point has a lot to do with this. Plastic is not purified by the remelting process like glass and metal. It begins to melt below the boiling point of water and does not drive off the oily containment of it. Also, there are so many different kinds of plastic and so many different colors of plastic. To be recycled, they should be classified. You can see the density of metals are clearly different from one another, but plastics are not. It needs much more efforts to recycle. Second, plastics do not actually biodegrade. They will last hundreds of years. So, how we handle this problem? There is 3 common ways to dispose of plastic garbage. One way is incineration. However, it's well known that plastic releases harmful environmental hormones such as dioxin when it's burned. Landfill is also one disposal way, but there is not enough landfill space. Therefore, many of them go to the ocean. It's so clear that this method cannot be a real solution. This is called Pacific garbage patch. As you can see, there are plenty of garbage, mostly plastic garbage. This is a sample water of this area. In here, there are more plastic debris than plankton. Fishes eat these small pieces of plastic because they confuse plastics with planktons. Not just fishes, birds also mistake the plastic to food. This bird's stomach is full of plastic stuff like lighter, and we should know that we humans will eat with those fishes at the end. Unfortunately, we cannot clean up all the garbage in the ocean, but we have to stop we can stop making it worse by raising awareness of the issues and teaching people to choose alternatives. So whenever possible, choose alternatives to single-use plastics. In doing so, we can save our ocean, save our planet, save ourselves. Thank you.
We can notice and experience weather changes in our life. For example, summer become long and fierce, and cold comes late compared to before. Although we just experience small changes, in fact it's not small, some people in the world experience serious disasters by the weather changes. This graph shows increasing weather-related disasters. Drought, extreme temperatures, increasing sea levels, and many other weather-related disasters make some people's life hard. Have you ever heard of climate refuges? This word have been used since 1980s as the concern about destruction of environment got attention. Climate refugees means people who have no other choices except moving to another places because of environmental disasters, especially global warming. The movie about climate refugees was made, and this is the poster. This movie shows vanishing villages and people nearby seashores in India and South Pacific nations. Let's see a few situations climate refugees face now. The most vulnerable region is islands. The people who live in islands are the first victim by rising of sea levels. In Caribbean and Pacific islands, more than 50% of populations live within 1.5 kilometers from sea levels. So, Alliance of Small Island States made voices in Copenhagen and Tuvalu prepared escape plans. Over the world, 6 million people are living with anxiety that their places will be gone by rising of sea levels. The other vulnerable region is Africa. Africans are suffering from droughts. The global warming in Africa is more serious than global average. Desertification is progressing. From 1970s, every year, 12,000 square kilometers are turned to desert. Water shortage makes people move to find water and makes wars between tribes. We should pay attention to these situations and problems. Do climate refugees face this kind of situations because they make the earth contaminated? No, it's developed countries and developing countries. So it's not just their problems, it's our problems. And also we must remember all of us can be climate refugees. Thank you.
I'm going to talk about vegetarian diet and its environmental effects. These graphs are about how much carbon offset and energy is needed to produce food. As you can see, beef is the highest in both the carbon footprint and energy use, 17 and 32 each. However, what are strange are the second and the third highest. Cheese is the second highest on carbon footprint, but the third on energy use, as you can see. The reason is that it takes a lot of milk to produce cheese. On average, 1 pound of cheese is made with 10 pounds of milk, and milk is from cow, which is methane emitter. Let me show you other ones. Okay. This figure shows that land footprint of meat is higher than what we think. Graph on the left side shows us eco footprint of vegan diet, 25 hours of flying, driving a car a year and public transportation a year compared to meat-based diet. Eco footprint, which is ecological footprint, means amount of biologically productive land and sea areas necessary to supply the resources a human population consumes and to process associated waste. As you can see on the graph, meat-based diet needs more productive land even than a driving car a year. If you look at the graph on the right side, it shows how much land is needed according to quantity of meat consumption. Of course, the more meat you eat, the more land is needed to support that. However, there is something unusual about the balance between vegetables and meat. Here, in the part of hill, the dark side is land needed to cultivate crops, and up the lighter side is land needed to make dairy food or meat. As you can see, although no meat vegetarian diet needs smaller land, if a little amount of meat or dairy food included, however, land will be used more efficiently. That is because fruits, vegetables, and grains must be grown on highly quality cropland, but not all the land is highly quality. And this is why we have to eat little of meat or dairy food. So what I'm supposing is to reduce meat consumption just a little bit for our body, for our fellow animals, and for our planet Earth. Okay, this is end of my presentation, and thank you for listening.
Nowadays, so much CO2 is emitted and much CO2 emission is causing global warming. This global warming brings about many problems such as rise of weather-related disasters and sea level rise. Among so many problems which are due to global warming, I will explain about the problem related to animals. At first, many animals are dying because of global warming. Every day, about 150 species of animals are being vanished, and about this time next year, about 50,000 species will have been exhausted. Especially small mammal species like picture is decreased by 30% so far. And look at these pictures. These animals are 6 species among 10 most serious animals. Clockwise, Apollo butterfly, caribou, pika, trout, puffin, musk cow. And because of global warming, animals are getting smaller and smaller. That's because the higher temperature becomes, the faster metabolism becomes. Namely, animals become adult earlier, become premature, and reproduce earlier. Figuratively speaking, with human beings, young people like adolescents bear their babies. Thus, animals' body becomes smaller and smaller. This phenomenon will break the ecological system. To describe with illustration, small fish has to eat small plant and small shark has to eat small fish. However, the speed of change is respectively different according to species. So some species will face shortage of food supply and will be exhausted. That's why the phenomenon that animals are getting smaller and smaller can break the ecological system seriously. Also, owing to global warming, pets will be damaged. As the temperature is getting higher, the number of parasites will increase, and increased number of parasites will be extremely fatal to pets. In addition, livestock industry generates 51% of greenhouse gases, which causes global warming. So, if we decrease our meat diet, we can reduce global warming. I will not eat beef at all from now. Instead, I will eat fresh vegetables and fruits. Follow me in order to reduce global warming. I love animals. Do you love animals too? Maybe yes. If we love animals, we should decrease the CO2 emissions and reduce global warming. That is the fundamental way we can protect animals. Human beings, we cannot live alone for many reasons. We have to live together with animals. That's why I assert that we should decrease the CO2 emissions and prevent global warming. Thank you for listening.